JJ the CPA, hope you're doing well. So PPP payroll for the self-employed, great news, it doesn't exist. For those that maybe are sending this video to banks, so the banks that are listening, in the body of this video, I have a link to the IRS instructions for Schedule C as well as to the SBA guidelines, FAQs, about this issue. The payroll doesn't exist because employees, are not possible for the self-employed in terms of themselves. Yes, a self-employed can employ somebody. They could even employ their spouse. But a self-employed individual cannot have wages. It's not possible to have payroll. Even if the self-employed calls something payroll, even if the self-employed says, well, I have a separate bank account, I pull these dollars out like clockwork every other week, that's my pay, that's my payroll. That's more like slang. That's more like, well, I'm deciding to pull money out at a specific time. The self-employed are not allowed to be employees. The IRS, and I'll indicate here on the page number where to look, when you look it up in the body of this video, the IRS indicates very specifically that an employee is not a self-employed individual. A self-employed individual cannot be an employee of itself. If the employee has paid themselves wages, which would be incorrect, can't do it, not allowed. Is it against the law like you're going to jail? No, but the tax law disallows it. So they even go a step further to say if the self-employed were to pay themselves, they do not get to deduct it. Why? Because there's no such thing as paying yourself wages. Can't do it on Schedule C. So the SBA, in the guidelines, the FAQs, which in this body of the video, I direct you where to go, the exact document with a link. The SBA indicates very clearly what the self-employed provides is the Schedule C for 2019. If you got the loan based on 2020, there is no direct instructions that I'm aware of if you got it based on 2020. So if you got it based on January and February 2020, my recommendation is that you would provide the same information, if you will, for January and February with the same calculation. But that's those that had no business at all in 2019. Overall, there's no such thing as payroll for the self-employed. And if you look closely at the documentation requirements for any of the Form 3508, but most notably those that are self-employed, Schedule C, most likely 99.9% of the time would be filing the 3508S because they would have gotten $50,000 or less. But when you look at the instructions of payroll records to provide, it says employee payroll forms, employee payroll reports. It says employment payroll records. It does not indicate at all anything different from that. So self-employed, you're not an employee. You don't have payroll to yourself. Just because you call something payroll doesn't make it payroll. In the eyes of the IRS and the SBA, payroll means W-2 wages. So for the banks that are out there, maybe this will help that you can go to these two links and read it. And it does seem very clear. Other banks have asked for that. We had one viewer, one subscriber that forwarded this video. Well, this is a new one, but forwarded my other video and the links. And the bank said, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and submit that to the SBA. We'll see what happens. And my understanding is that worked. That solved it. Why, in closing? Because the self-employed, the forgiveness is a calculation, period. The calculation is 2019, Schedule C, line 31, divided by 12, times 2.5. I do want to mention to you, I'm doing 2 seminars in January. I got a link in the body of this. One of the seminars is directed towards the self-employed for the PPP forgiveness application. I will email you a list of documents a few days before the seminar so that you can gather those up, bring the documents to the Zoom meeting, a group Zoom meeting. We'll go step by step. And at the end of that group Zoom meeting, you should have your PPP forgiveness application done, complete, and ready to be submitted. If you feel that you want to do that on your own, know this: I've got videos that tell you what you need to do. The difference in the Zoom is I'll be on it with you live. I'll also take Q&A, with the goal being that those that are on there get theirs done while we're doing the Zoom. So I got a link to that here in the body of this video. All right, hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. All right, hey, have a great one.